Hi, Sandra here, the Misophonia therapist. And in today's video, I thought I would talk a little bit about the role of our imaginations in how it can exacerbate the misophonia trigger response. So many of you will be aware that certain sounds trigger you, and when that happens, a series of processes are set in place which are related to the primeval, primitive fight or flight system. So you hear the sound, whatever that might be, and the amygdala, which is your fight or flight mechanism in the brain, in the limbic system, will process the sound. It will pattern match with a region of the brain called the hippocampus, which is essentially like a filing cabinet of previous emotional and sensory memories. And a match is found when the hippocampus can locate a particular incidence at a particular time when you heard that sound and reacted very badly. So the amygdala then will fire off an alarm because it's matched to something in our previous memory bank of experiences that says this situation is dangerous. And then it fires off the chemical response from the hypothalamus. So your body is then flooded with cortisol and adrenaline, which is designed to get you running away from danger, getting into a fight, or perhaps just not moving at all. Now, I've vastly oversimplified it, but it's just to demonstrate that when you have in the past experienced the trigger, fight or flight is activated, and you just know that it feels incredibly unpleasant. Now, of course, you don't even need to actually hear the trigger sound for this chain of events to be set in motion. That is one of the most frustrating aspects of misophonia, that a large part of it relies on the imagination. And the reason this happens, really, it's just the brain's way of not only trying to keep you safe, even though you know logically you aren't really in any danger, but partly for efficiency too. So what happens is an automatic response is logged in the subconscious, and it will just keep on reminding you of what may happen in a certain situation and setting off fight or flight to warn you that this impending danger is just around the corner, or could be if you were ever in this situation. So, for example, you might think, well, I really don't want to spend any time with my new partner because I know that when we are eating together, I'm going to hear it and I'm going to get triggered. And you might imagine the sounds, and you might imagine how hideous that experience is going to be. And then you may end up feeling really embarrassed because you're going to have to ask them to stop making the sound. Or worse, you can't do that. So you're just going to have to leave the room or just sit there cringing inwardly, and it will spoil your evening. Or worse, you'll end up having this monumental argument, and then he'll dump you because he'll think you're a weirdo. So that is the imagination at work, trying to keep you safe by making you imagine worst case scenarios. And it's extremely effective. I'm sure many of you will know, because then after having imagined this horrendous scene, you are not going to want to spend any time with the new partner. And of course, then how can you build a relationship? So that's just one example of what's going on in the brain, this anticipation, this use of imagination and why it happens. And I guess the $1 million question is there anything you can do about it? And of course, to many misophonia sufferers, it just seems like that is virtually impossible. Well, is it? And I think my argument here is if you can imagine something happening a certain way, it means you can imagine it happening another way. And I don't mean that the simple cure for misophonia is just to sit back and imagine having a wonderful time with your partner and they're not triggering you, although that is in itself part of healing. It goes a little deeper than that. But you can harness the power of your imagination to start supporting you. And if that makes sense and you'd like to ask me a little more, just DM me. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I will be back tomorrow. Bye for now.